All right. Good morning and welcome to the Ben Tilbury podcast. Got an awesome guest who I've kind of got to know over the years because I frequent his local business here in San Luis Obispo. And I wanted to introduce to you Brett Jones of Nautical Bean and so many other things. So why don't you kind of tell us how you got started and tell us a little bit about your back history in San Luis Obispo and.
Oh, perfect. My name's Brett. I grew up in Fresno, California. Home- I am the son of entrepreneurs. My dad was in commercial roofing, and I'm the only child. But grew up kind of skateboarding, having fun with my friends. It was the best kind of Gen X lifestyle. It's like came home and the lights came on, all that kind of stuff. Grew up. I had an amazing childhood. Getting into how I got into coffee shops, that's an interesting story. I don't know if they do it anymore, but in high school, you take those tests and it'd be all, what are you going to be when you grow up? And mine always
Don't
came.
tell me it said coffee.
Yeah, no,
Barista.
Mine said hotel restaurant management. Took it twice. Both times it said that. And I was like, what is this? I'm not going to do that. I also didn't know what I was going to do. So I didn't think anything of it. And I went to City College. I wasn't a great student at all, but I kind of figured out, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to a city college. I don't need to really take SATs or anything like that. So I didn't do that. I went to City College. And then at Fresno City College, I got the opportunity to do a study abroad program to where I went to Kingston, England. And the only reason why I went because I saw my friend Christy in the quad, and I go, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm going to see this travel abroad program. I go, okay, I'll go and check it out. And so I went, and they put you with a family and all that kind of stuff. And I had the most odd experience with this family. It's like I get along with everybody, but this lady, it was a mother and her son. The son was great. This lady was a little bit off. And so I was in the local pub that we hung out in, the Royal Borough, talking to Peter, the owner. And I said, Peter, man, I got this weird thing going on. He goes, I got an apartment upstairs. He goes, just work in the pub at night and you can stay there for free and eat.
Awesome.
I go, okay. I had never worked I'd worked since I was 13, but.
And you're like 18 at this point? Or
No, I actually turned 21 over there.
Okay.
And so I go, okay, yeah, sure. So I lived above the pub and I worked there every night. And they fed me, they took care of me. But that's when I realized this is what I want to do for a living. I loved it. I like the social aspect of it. And so I thought I was going to be a bar owner, And so when I got back to the States, I threw myself into the restaurant industry. I got a job at TGI Fridays. I wore all the flair, you name it.
Was that in the Valley or is that here?
No, that was, I then went to San Diego State.
Okay.
And so San Diego State. And so I was in San Diego. And I worked at the TGI Fridays there and worked my way up. And I treated it like my second college. I was going to school for English. And I joke, I go, with a degree in English, you could either teach or own coffee shops. One of those things. So I worked all aspects. I volunteered for the safety board or whatever. I expoed, I ran food, I would do management shifts. I eventually worked my way up into the bar. And I was one of the top bartenders there. And I was stupid and ended up getting myself fired, for drinking in the parking lot, after a shift. And it's like, oh, okay. And so that's probably the best thing, because I learned a big lesson. It's like you could be at the top of your game, but you can still get your legs cut out from under you.
Yeah, especially when you're working for someone else.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so then I started bartending at a great pub. It's still there in San Diego. It's called Henry's Pub. It's on 5th Street. Legendary. And I loved it. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bartend for the rest of my life. I was married. I was living in PB, which is great. I thought I'd never leave.
Lifestyle down there.
And my wife at the time, she was bartending too. And it got to the point to where we were the only married couple in this whole thing. And it really strained our relationship, And so it's like, we need to get out of here, because we tried to distance ourselves from that community, but it's like, hey, we're going to go have a keg over in this street. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we got to go to that, So my parents were living in Berkeley at the time, and they were all, we're going to move to San Luis Obispo. I go, cool, never been there. Let's do it. I grew up in Fresno, and I'd never been to San Luis Obispo.
That's crazy. That's the opposite.
I know, right?
Most people.
And so moved here. We had a small roofing company for a bit, and it was fine. It's like we kept doing it. But my parents saw this little coffee shop in San Francisco, and they were like, "Hey, Brett, do you want to open coffee shops?" I go, "Yes, I do want to do that." And so, because I was selling roofing, but I was depressed. It's like I didn't know anything about roofing, but
It's a hard job.
But I could sell something because I'm fine talking with people. And a lot of time a roofing salesman gives you like this crumpled up like bid on something. Mine were all digitally printed with pictures of their house and all this stuff. And I did okay, but they wanted to open a coffee shop. And so they bought some land on the Nipomo Mesa. Like if you go up on the Nipomo Mesa, there's still a Mexican food restaurant there to open a drive-through coffee shop. And so I didn't know anything about coffee. So I got a job at the Nautical Bean, because they were hiring. And it was very difficult to get a job there because I couldn't
That was downtown at that
No,
point?
the
Or
Nautical Bean
where was the
on
Nautical?
Los Osos Valley Road.
Oh, okay. So
I'm the third owner of that shop.
Oh, see, I didn't even know this. This
Yeah.
is like deep history.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the original owner opened it, and then he sold it. Well, to give some reference, we just had our 25-year anniversary, and I totally forgot about it.
Wow.
But it opened in 99, and then I took it over in 2002.
Okay.
So to give you a frame of reference of how long people
It
had
had
it.
two owners
in that amount of time.
Wow.
And so I was working there, and we were getting ready to open, like we were building it out. I'm kind of doing reconnaissance and everything like that. And the owner of it was like, "Oh man, I just need to sell this place." And I was all, "Well, I'll buy it." And she didn't take me seriously. And so I was like, I talked to my parents about it. I go, "Hey, they want to sell this." I go, "I think there's some potential there, And so they go, "Okay." And so we bought it. Probably paid way too much for it and everything like that. But you don't know at those times, It's like, that's why I like when I consult with people now that want to do coffee or a restaurant or business like that. It's like, it's like everything's up for negotiation on stuff. So, but we bought it. We opened the one up on the Nipomo Mesa. It wasn't called Nautical Bean. It was called Planet Java because, still didn't have a lot of faith in my abilities to do coffee. So we did a licensing agreement with a operation in Fresno where they kind of helped us with training and all that, which was great. And we had their name. That one, I can't really say it was a failure because we owned the land, we owned the building, and we pulled out of it. It's like, this just isn't, we're probably 5 years ahead of our time there.
This is like a small little one that you
with a
can pull up on each side or just one side?
No, it was a full-on building. It's like we didn't do anything small. It's a full building. It's still there. You can see it. And it had a drive-through, and it had seating inside. And we were able to rent it out. And then eventually, someone after a few tenants, which goes, one guy was successful with it, and he ended up buying us out of it. And so he bought it all. So we're covered on that. So it was good. It was a good thing. And through that time, we've had Nautical Bean, and it's gone with its ebb and flows in businesses. I've had a couple wins and a couple failures.
Yeah, I think we'll get into that. I definitely want to get into failures in a little bit and what you can learn from them, because I think we all fail on our way to, like, there's no way to success without a few failures, right? But
that's the only way you learn.
Yeah.
Because
I call it going to college. It's like you're going to spend some money, but you're going to learn a lot, and you're probably not going to make that mistake again.
I always say, like, my downtown one was like a great $200,000 lesson, on what not to do, because like we were having some success at Nautical Bean, and I was all, I'm doing great. I am king of the world. It's like I can go into downtown.
Yep.
And so it's like, let's do it, because that was the epitome of success.
What year was
opening
that?
Coffee shop
like
downtown.
06 or something?
2006.
Wow.
I think.
So a difficult time to get into anything in business and real estate. Yeah.
But it's like it was completely ego driven.
Yeah.
I was like, I could do this. People are going to come to me. But what I didn't realize was, I've got a few things I look in business to scout a location. We can go into that later. But there was really no parking for it.
Yeah.
And my walk by traffic, it was where Ike's Sandwich is now on Shoro.
So was Bowls there? Like there's a bar
Bowls
next
was where
door?
it was, but it was one more down.
Yep.
Like that's not the original Bowls location. It moved a little bit. But it's like, even when I was lease was signed, build out was going, I would just sit out there, and like kind of count people. and I started to get a really bad feeling. I was
Yep.
like, what are we doing here? You know, like the rent was really high.
Well, that's what I was gonna say is you probably had to double the lease or triple the
It,
lease
it,
as your other place,
oh,
right?
it was high, and you know, no shame on that. You know, landlords got to make money on those kind of things. That's fine. I signed on the dotted line.
Yep.
You know, I can't get into business and complain about it once I'm in there. I knew what I was
Well,
getting
you gotta
into.
sell a lot of coffee at that.
You sure do. But one of the biggest things when I talk about that shop is that I didn't design it for myself. I designed that shop how I thought people, the owners of the building, would want it. You know, this was before like the old Nautical Bean. I don't know how long ago you go back, but they didn't always look like how they look now. You know, they weren't, and so it still had art on the wall, and it was great, but it was designed it was almost too nice.
It was
You
a
know,
little more,
it-
like cookie cutter. you could
very
say.
much so. Yeah, it was kind of designed like a Starbucks, something like that. And
Maroon walls, though, if I remember, or was it?
I can't remember.
Dude,
think that-
I've definitely went to
Maroon
that
walls
place
were
a few
elevated
times.
on yeah, but it was like it just wasn't. It didn't feel authentic to me, and I really struggled with it, and we kept up and down and up and down, and it just wasn't there. We
I
just
think you were also maybe like you were crushing it over here, but at the same time, it might have been too premature. Like now everybody knows the name and the brand. So it's like,
it's got it, but I still wouldn't
Go there.
I still wouldn't go there.
well, look at if Pete's can't even survive downtown and look how much marketing dollars they have. I mean,
But the thing is, too, it's like there was so much good coffee downtown, though, already. Like you had Black Horse that's crushing it, you know, an institution. You had Linnea's, which has been there forever, you know, which is so good. You had Starbucks, which was really popular. You had another Starbucks in the Barnes and Noble.
yeah, within a block.
And then my buddy James, he opened Kreuzberg at that time, too, the one over there on it was on Monterey, the original bookstore one, which was the original Museos. And he brought in something that was amazing. You know, this was the introduction to third wave coffee with like doing it right, like doing coffee to another level. And like I looked at that, I was all, he's awesome. You know, it's like, and we're still friends to this day. You know, we bounce ideas off each other and everything. You know,
that's cool. It's such a small town here that like it's good to just to build camaraderie and there's such an abundance of business here that you don't have to like some people have a different mindset, right? Oh, they're competitors, but it's like, dude, let's work together. Let's like innovate this business and industry.
Yeah, James would always say all boats rise with the tide. You know, and so it's like we can feed each other ideas on what's going on. And I think that's awesome with this because people always go, oh, who's your competitor here in San Luis Obispo? I go, you know what? If I'm worried about what other people are doing all the time, then I'm not focusing on what I need to do. You know, it's like people have talked about all these multiple Starbucks that are coming into town. And instead of, it's like, if I lose business because of that, you know, that's because of me. It's like, what are they doing that these people want?
The Village Host one, I guess, off of
possibility on that one. Yeah. And I think there's one going in by Home Depot too, in the old bank.
The way I look at it is that that's not really your demographic anyways.
No,
like the people that are going there, it's out of convenience. It's not out of quality. And I would say ambiance and like knowing the people behind the counter and stuff like that.
You know, I used to be really jaded by Starbucks in my coming. I guess that's my punk rock roots is go against the corporation. But as I got older, I learned it's like I wouldn't be here if they didn't come around, you know. And they blazed the trails for us on a lot of these things. And so it's like, but then also they have enough money to experiment with trends and things that might work and things that won't work and things that do work. It's like, oh well, they already figured out that works, so I could pony up on that and see what works.
How does it work when they start something and now all the customers expect it to be at your place and you're like, oh wow, well almond milk, okay, now I guess we gotta carry almond milk.
Well, like the biggest thing if you work in coffee, it's silly, but people will come in and ask for a macchiato. It's like, okay, do you want something with caramel and vanilla and steamed milk, or do you want something with 2 shots marked with a dollop of foam? It's like, what do you really want here? So some people can be upset about it, but it's like they're still coming into your shop asking for this thing. You know, it's like bend over backwards.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've had to talk to employees over the years. Oh, this customer's wanting this. I go, that customer's paying your paycheck. It's like, you got to do what they want, So I'm not threatened by it anymore. I kind of just keep my nose down and do what I have to do. And it makes me raise my game a little bit anyway. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. So let's dive into, so you came out here in like early 2000s, or was it 99?
2001.
Okay. 2001. And kind of, you had seen yourself getting into the industry, like the food industry, or, I feel like the service industry, at a whole, because you're really just pleasing people with what they want. And
it's creating an experience. And I used to always tell my employees, you have to greet your customer before they walk in. And so what that might be, when I first started taking over Nautical Bean, I had a notebook and I'd get people's names and I'd write down brief description of what they drink.
That's
it's
awesome.
like, and so we had all those glass windows out front. We were slow enough at the time, and so I got this, I got that. And so, but you greet them with how your storefront looks from the outside. Is your patio swept? Is it clean? When they're walking in, what type of experience are they going to have even before they're at their register? And then you do know their name. You know what they drink. But getting back to that failure downtown, it failed. And I went through all that depression. I mean, overwhelming depression. Like, I was like, we're going to sell the Los Osos Valley Road one. And I was looking to get a job at Target, because, I had 2 kids at that time. It's like, you do what you have to do. And so, but then I was like, my parents are ready to sell it too. And I was like, look, just give me a shot, and that's when I said, screw it. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And that's when I started putting skateboards on the wall, all this 80s and 90s stuff everywhere, like just decorated.
It's like your soul is on the wall.
Yeah,
I love it though.
And but what I learned was I was being true to myself, and then I was happy being in that environment. And so that, I'm not an energy guy really, but I would think that went out to my employees and it went out to my customers. I was having a good time. I was enjoying myself, and people want to be a part of that then. And they started coming in, and we started getting busier.
I have a friend who just did a speech on like being your authentic self. And I think you like hit the nail on the head, right? Like, you just put it out there with your music, your skateboards, your art, your lunch boxes, like these old 80s and maybe 70s lunch boxes that are awesome. And you can just like literally drink your coffee and walk around and look and be like amazed. Like even this morning I was looking at the Beastie Boys corner. And I grew up on the Beastie Boys. I love the Beastie Boys. And that was like my first CD I bought, but
it's my first tape.
Dude, that's crazy.
I got it at Thrifty.
Thrifty. Wow, I didn't know they sold tapes.
They used to.
Was that
in
8
the 80s they did. No, I'm not that old.
I know.
No, but my favorite thing to do is when I'm working at one of the shops and I see like a mom or a dad like bring one of their kids into the Parker Street location. It's massive. And they go into like that room that has like 170 skateboards in it. They're looking, and I just kind of go up and I go, "What'd you ride?" And they're, I had this Caballero of tracker trucks and these slime ball wheels. And I go, oh yeah, and I'll talk to them about it. But people want to connect with those things. And that's why I do it. It's like, my wife is like, she's the best. She lets me buy all these things, and they're in our house or they're in the attic. And it's like, I could open another coffee shop tomorrow and have enough skateboards and crap to put in it. But, it's just fun to see people connect with that type of thing.
No, it's amazing. As you said that, it made me remind myself of my first skateboard. It was like a Mike Carroll girl board.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought it in Seattle, and I got like independent trucks, and it was like, dude, and then, just all these ideas flooded back, like ventures and all the, like, back in the day.
So now when I look to possibly open another coffee shop, I have to stop myself and go, do I want to open another coffee shop, or I just want a place to put more crap?
Yeah, it's true.
Because I really like to build. It's like, I like that process. If it's like my house or whatever, it's like I like the process of building something.
Yep.
And I think it's because I dabbled with art a little bit in the day, but I always treat my coffee shops as art now. It's like, these are my little projects.
It almost is. It's like an art studio, like, I don't know.
Well, gosh, now if the bunker,
it's almost kind of like a museum as well for some of these things.
absolutely,
right? Yeah.
And so it's fun.
Yep. No, that's awesome. So let's go back. I guess let's talk about like family life. How does family tie into business and entrepreneurship? Because entrepreneurship is such a difficult thing to do. That you got to have good support behind you. It's probably a lot. It's hard to juggle. And I'm just starting a family. I got one on the way in October, so I'm trying to kind of talk to all my dads out there that are like, dude, like, how do you do it? How do you juggle all of this? Because business in itself is hard enough. Now you got a family and all that stuff. So
my poor kids. No, but people always associate me with the Nautical Bean. Oh, Brett's an Nautical Bean. And it's like, that's just what people see. They don't know.
Tip of
it's
the
like
iceberg.
It's like I got my mom and my dad that have been with this whole process since day one. And we have our roles. Yeah, my role is I open shops, I put people where they need to be, I design them and do all that stuff. But then I have my mom who's done all the human resources, all the paperwork, everything. I entered in the information for every employee, probably over 1,000 something employees that we've had over the years, and done all that, done all the QuickBooks thing and everything. And then I always say it's like in entrepreneurship, you need someone to hold you back or to check yourself. And I've always allocated my relationship with my parents on opening shops or anything like that. It's like taking an eager dog on a walk. Like the dog wants to sprint, go as fast as it could.
They're walking you? Or in this scenario?
Yeah.
Or,
I'm the dog. So I want to go. And my mom pulling on the leash. And we're not moving forward as fast as I want to go. And we're definitely not moving forward as slow as they might want to go. But we are moving forward.
That's the important thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it still is a trajectory. But you always need that one person that's going to check it and look at your books, look at your numbers, no, you can't do that. You're doing you need A, B, and C.
Move that a little bit.
A, B, and C need to be in line with you a little bit more. And so I think over the years now, I'm definitely slower. I've been doing it now for 22 years. And so it's like, okay, what does the next step of my life look like on entrepreneurship? With my kids, all three of I have 5 kids now because I'm remarried. And so, but my 21-year-old, she's the assistant general manager at the Parker Street location. My 19-year-old, she works at the Los Osos Valley Road location. My 16-year-old, she works at the Parker Street location. And my 15-year-old just got her work permit, so she's going to start busing this summer. Probably at the Parker Street.
That's awesome. So it literally is a family-run business.
Absolutely.
Completely from
100%
the start.
to the core. And now my wife, she is taking over a lot of the roles that what my mom did. And to alleviate, my mom is 70. It's like she doesn't need to worry about this crap anymore as much.
So funny. I was just talking to my wife about hiring my mom who's already retired. I was like, hey, you think my mom would want to work for us and help us out? She's like, no, she wants to enjoy retirement.
Yeah, it's because we have a mail order company too, where we're sending off coffee all over the United States twice a month. I mean, twice a week.
Wow.
So so now I want to concentrate on that and grow that, because that eventually could be an automated business, to where it can get packaged and sent all through that. But right now we package it, send it, everything. And so my wife is doing all that. So it's a family business to the core. And I talked to my oldest and everything. I go, would you ever want these? Would you want that? And she goes, no. and I go, why? And I go, look at it. It can run itself almost nowadays. And she goes, Dad, I've seen you so stressed out over the years. She's seen me crying and everything. I've been hospitalized twice with stress from coffee shop things. Yeah. One of them was recently. It's like, so it doesn't go away.
This is the thing that people need to realize when they do want to get into business, is that it is not just success. It's not just making a bunch of money. It's the highs and lows, but that's also the journey, which makes it even more, I think,
it's
rewarding and fruitful at the end when you do have this success.
it is, and the successes are great, and you relish in them, and you're like, oh, that was cool, but you wallow so much on the negative. It's like, oh, this shop was really slow this month. We lost money this month on this one. It's like, oh, and I'll beat myself up about that. And yeah, I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. But that's just the nature of the beast. I know it was, but with depression in business, once I opened up the Baywood shop, before that I was still a scheduled employee barista. The managers would schedule me shifts.
Yep.
And I was working 5 days a week as a scheduled barista. And I would shift in between the two shops at the time. And once I did Baywood.
That was Parker and
Los Osos Valley Road.
Yep.
And then when we decided to open up Baywood, we had the opportunity to do that. I would work full-time in Baywood, but I realized I'm not going to be able to be a scheduled employee anymore if I'm going to be able to run these businesses. So I had to pull myself out as being a scheduled employee to where I could check on them and take care of the things that happen, because I work a 7-hour shift and then I got to go to another shop and fix something. It's like, I'd just be way too burnt out. But then you go through this identity crisis. It's like, okay, I was the scheduled barista and that was my worth. I'm a good barista. I can make sandwiches. I can do all this. I can do all that. And now it's like I can get all my stuff done by like 9 o'clock, and then what do I do? It's like I've got all these employees that are working, and they're working for me, and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So it's, people always say, oh yeah, you could just step back and, it's like it can run itself nowadays. It's like, to some degree, yes, but then you suffer with that. It's like,
what's my purpose?
What's my purpose in this?
Yeah.
Where's my worth at on this?
Yeah, because people don't get to, I think you crave that interaction with your customers where, like, when you're managing 5 shops or however many shops, like, you don't get that. They don't see that day to day,
Yeah, and
how much you're doing behind the scenes.
And you want the respect of your employees as well. You don't want them to say, oh gosh, the owner, yeah, he just comes in and does the deliveries and everything like that. And it's like, you don't want that. You want to, because without employees, your business is nothing.
Oh yeah.
If I don't have employees, then I don't have a business.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to make sure that I'm a responsible owner and I'm taking care of people when they need to be always being taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you got to be able to leverage their time as well. And, because otherwise I think that's one thing that we get caught up as entrepreneurs is like, we're the only ones, and this is like early on in the journey, right? Obviously you've got past this, but like, we think we're the only ones who can do it properly the way that we want it done. And it's like, you need to give some of that away to other people and empower them to make the right choices. They might not do it the same way as you, but they also might do it better than you in just their own creative way. But with my business, I've learned that, which is renovating houses, flipping houses, and all this stuff, is like, I can't be the guy there every day swinging the hammer, painting, because I would never be able to scale, you know? So it's like my job, my highest and best use is finding the properties, finding the funding, and putting the deal together versus, so I'm kind of like taking a back seat where I see what you're saying is like, you need to show up for your employees, but there's a balance, I think.
Absolutely. And it's figuring out, because I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And I'm definitely not good at a lot more things than what I am good at, And so I am not good at paperwork and stuff like that. Maybe I don't want to be good at that because it doesn't really light my fire, but I'm not good at conflict. So I'm not good at confronting an employee if they're not doing what they need to do. But all of my GMs are good at conflict, and they're very good at
conflict resolution.
Yes, being able to talk to an employee or something like that if they're not performing how they need to perform or things like that. They're very good at those type of things. I want to be everybody's friend, and so I've got a hard time with it.
I do too, but at the same time, I like, instead of employees, it's tenants for me. So I got to have these hard discussions with tenants, and it's like, hey, you got to do what the lease says. You signed it,
Oh,
But
well, that's the hard thing with what you do. Like I've been thinking about that a lot. Like I think about that a lot with like rentals, and you see people like talk about rental prices and everything nowadays. And your business is housing, a necessity of life. You know,
I think coffee's a necessity of life as
well,
well, depending on who you are.
it very well could be. If you talk to my wife, she'd say coffee is definitely a necessity of life. But with housing, you're selling housing, or you're providing housing, and people get upset with that, with the price of it. But you took the risks. You've put yourself on the line, your family on the line, to be able to purchase these homes or these renovations and things like that. And that's hard, I was thinking about it the other day. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like people don't get mad at Tesla for having these electric cars when gas prices are so high, But
I feel like people who complain are going to find something to complain about no matter what it is,
Sure.
Whether it's my coffee had too much something or wasn't hot enough, or the real estate cost too much or the gas cost too much. It's like what I see where people complain is like, oh man, like houses are so much. And it's like, actually like what you're not seeing is this house was dilapidated. You can only buy it with a cash purchase or a hard money loan. So I'm basically taking the blight off of the streets, cleaning it up, repolishing it, and then putting it back on the market and improving all my neighbors' values as well. So they're very thankful. And so it's funny, like, but homeowners get it, but renters don't get it. They're like, oh, we can't afford. I get it. I was a renter too. So I treat them how I would want to be treated.
Yeah.
But it is difficult. You do have to kind of hold a tight rope, and it's a thin red line, I would say.
It's hard, especially because with yours, that's a big purchase. With mine, because I've got to go through a big price increase. I just do, but the inflation has gone up so high in cost of goods for my business that it used to be I could get by like a year and a half without changing prices. Back in the day, I used to go like 2 years, which is probably stupid. I was way too cheap. But I don't like raising prices because I want to be able to provide a good value. And I started to like look at Starbucks pricing and all that. And I used to always compare it off of that. But then I had to kind of step myself back and be like, look, I don't have the buying power of a Starbucks. It's like, I can't compete with that price. I think they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit to where they are almost like fast food now. It's like all their breakfast sandwiches are frozen. And I buy them. When we're driving or anything like that, that's our go-to.
Yeah.
But
it's so convenient. That's the normal reason why I would go is like, hey, I know what I'm gonna get because it's.
Well, the two reasons why people go to Starbucks, from what I've heard, was it's convenient. Right. It's convenient and it's consistent.
Yeah.
So people crave convenience and consistency, so more power to them, that's fine. But it's like all of my stuff is made fresh to order, I'm getting local produce and everything every day, fresh baked things every day, so it's like, I have to be like, okay, I'm providing something good,
I think you're providing a higher quality, and the local, like I like supporting local brands,
Sure,
and local companies and local people that I know. So it's like keeping the money in the family, I guess, so to say,
it's also
community. But
it's also knowing your worth. It's like if I'm just charging bare minimum for something, it's like you have a perceived value on some things too, which goes with anything. But I don't like, because my customers average is like my regulars probably about 3-4 days a week. And so a 25 cent, a 50 cent increase here and there, they're like, oh man, that was that. Oh, sorry. But most of the time nowadays, with how POS systems are set up and people pay with just a tap or whatever, no one notices, it seems like, it's like, but I think like I had a hard thought the other day. It's like, if I ever got to the point where I thought I was charging way too much for something, it's like, that would be, I couldn't deal with that stress. I want to be able to provide a good product at a good price consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely been to places where, you're going to check out and it's a $9 coffee and you're like, whoa. And then you get it and you take a sip and it's like not to your standards. And you're like, wow, I feel like I just wasted $9. But,
oh my gosh. It's like,
and I remember when I used to work for $9 an hour. So it's like,
sure.
It hits that part in my brain and I'm like, man.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like we got, but yeah, like we did Uber Eats the other day and just one of my daughters and myself, we got a thing each, and it was like $60.
It's crazy.
It's like, but I paid it, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. So let's get into kind of like where do you do a lot of goal setting or vision, like vision, like what's your vision in, I'd say, you said you're kind of throttling back or they're taking, you're trying to throttle back a little bit, but like, where do you see yourself in 10 years, I guess?
I'm a spreadsheet guy.
Okay.
So I'm an Excel guy.
Nice.
And so it's like, I love Excel. So I have this one program that I developed where I plug in all of my expenses and I plug in like rentals, my income, my wife's income, but all these other things, and it will add it all up. It does a percentage for taxes, and then it tells me what's left at the bottom. And so I constantly tweak those numbers and see what it looks like or what I need to make for this. I even have in like, okay, when does Social Security kick in? All those types of things. But the next 10 years, I think that's going to be probably one of the biggest things in my life, because that's when my youngest, he'd be 19 then, out of high school. Everything. So it'd be kind of just my wife and I. So what does that look like? What's my income source going to look like? How can I attack some things to pay them off? I'd love to be able to pay off a mortgage, kind of things, because, okay, there's 3,100 right there, kind of things. And so I still see myself doing coffee shops, but if someone wanted to step in and buy them, and if it was enough to be able to pay off things where I could supplement some other stuff, I joke around and be all, I just want to go work at a wine bar, just and have someone tell me what to do and just go pour wine and talk to people. But I'd really like to travel, but I'm doing a big push right now of streamlining things at the coffee shops, like replacing all the old menu boards of TVs. So I'm able to change pricing better, instead of waiting so long, I could take advantage of that. But then also I'm trying to make it look as streamlined as possible, like the sleeve that's printed.
I was just looking at that today.
Yeah, we got those coming. We're doing all these custom papers. Like whenever you get like a burrito at the shop, it has like this 12 by 12 brown paper that's folded. Those are all going to be printed. Kind of like the best example who does it the best is High Street Deli. Like if you go to High Street Deli,
almost wore my High Street Deli shirt today.
Doobie does it better than anybody in town.
Yeah, branding genius.
Branding, like all the way. And it's not cheap. It's like, but the investment is there to make a perceived value of, man, these guys really know what they're doing. High Street Deli is a great sandwich, best in town. But that branding is so great, and so I've had to take a hard look at that. And it's like, okay, how can you brand it? Because if you want to go sell it one day, your shops need to be profitable for one, but then it also needs to look like a valuable business, so, and a lot of that is in branding. I have a great guy, Pete, with Mosh Pit Digital. He is amazing. And he has the ability to read my mind of what I would want. If you find someone like that, they're worth their weight in gold. Yep. You'll have to pay them your weight in gold, but but it's worth it.
It comes back. I mean, value. It goes back to what you said: is know your value.
Sure. So if we could start doing those things, streamlining some menu things, getting us where we need to be, and to where if someone, I would love for the employees to one day take them over if they wanted. It's like
it's cool to hand down the reins.
Like what? But like I don't even know what that looks like. My friend who's a fellow Rotarian, Michael Gunther, he wrote a great book called "From Me to We," and talking about all those aspects of it. So he said he'd go to lunch with me so I could pick his brain. So that'd be awesome.
That's awesome.
But someone that's done it before. As soon as you think you know everything about your business, that's when you get passed by. You just need to be humble and learning. I'm sure I was a cocky little shit when I first took over and did all that, but now it's like, I like taking a step back and say, I don't know all this.
Same here. That's what I love about my business. I'm constantly learning, and it's constantly innovating and getting a little bit better every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all know that, business is hard, but yeah, I feel like you got to be wary of the person who thinks they know everything because.
Oh gosh, it's really funny. I've got a funny story about, you're talking about like the 10-year thing. When I first got into business, my good friend, who's still one of my mentors to this day, Carl Dudley, he goes, "Well, let me take you to breakfast." And so he took me to breakfast, and he goes, "So what's your goal for your business?" Like that. And I was just starting off. I go, "Oh, provide for my family, provide a good product for the community." He goes, "Yeah, that's cool and everything, but he goes, the goal of your business should be to build it up enough to where you can sell it." And I was like, this guy's crazy. I go, "I'm never selling my businesses." I go, "That's dumb." And decades later, he's still one of my great friends, and he's one of my fellow Rotarians, and I sit by him every Wednesday for lunch. And I had to nudge him one day. I go, "You know what? You were right." And he's all, "What?" I go, "You told me all." He goes, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And I go, "Yeah, you were right." Because it's like, I'm all about like happiness in life nowadays. It's like, I used to really put so much effort on my shops and everything like that, but I just want to be happy.
Yep.
I just want to enjoy life eventually. Like I enjoy it now, but I want to not have those stresses over me. And I guess that's why I'm like, okay, I got to work really hard right now to build something to be able to enjoy that later in life,
Yep.
So
We battle the same thing. It's like stressors every single day. You wake up to tenant issues, plumbing issues, multiple things that you have to deal with. And it's just, and I handle stress very well. Lindsay, not as much. So I try to just kind of like let it flow, like take it in. Okay, well, this is just one more problem we have to solve.
yeah,
But it's definitely keeps you on this wave of like, you're riding almost like a stress wave, so to say.
Well, I look at it now. It's like if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably do what you do. It's like, because I've dipped my toes in some rental stuff now, and it's like I really like it.
Yep.
But that comes back to that high school test, hotel, restaurant management. I like the aspect of the short-term rentals and things like that, and be able to converse with people, but also provide a great product and a great experience.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of thing. And that brings me a lot of joy right now. And that also shows me this is an income source where I'm not slaving over it every day. It's producing. So I really like looking into that, and I'd love to be able to dip my toes, maybe a little bit more of that in the future, which we've talked about. And that's fun to me.
Yep.
I guess it also gets back to my point of I like to build, and my wife, she's like-minded with me, and she's got great design sense, and we like to build funky stuff. And this gives us an opportunity to do it,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, so on real estate, cause I guess we can dig into that a little bit, is that you kind of, you made a smart purchase on your home, and then you kind of built it out as like a compound, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. That's been fun.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's also stressful, right? So
it was extremely stressful.
Yep.
And but it's allowed me to be able to have a little bit more freedom in life, but all the money that's coming from a rental now, we've only put it back into the house.
Yep. And that was because you built an ADU on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
people who watch this probably are in, like, ADUs are the thing right now, right? Is that how do we get more income on our property? We only have a single family home. Let's add an accessory dwelling unit, which is a granny unit for people who don't know.
Well, and SLO didn't allow those really until COVID time. It's like you had to have an R2 lot to be able to build a granny unit or an ADU.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they let up on that a little bit, it's a big process, and the permitting is really hard. But in the long run, if you're gonna, I don't have retirement. I wasn't smart. I don't have anything.
Neither do I. So if it makes you feel better,
and so
except for rentals, that's my retirement.
That's what I've always said. I go, okay, this home is my retirement. How I'm going to piece it out, how I'm going to do rentals on it. That's going to allow me the leverage to maybe buy something else and build that out to where this is going to be able to have some kind of a supplemental income that I'll be able to live off of. But then also, it also builds generational wealth. It's like when I'm gone, my kids will have what I've built, and hopefully they'll all be paid off by then, and to where if they want the income, great, figure that out, or one of them can live in it. But to be able to build that for them, it's like I might have a solid 20, 30 years of really enjoying it, but they're going to have a lifetime be able to pass that down.
No, it's you see that a lot in real estate is like someone passes away, they leave it in the trust to the kids or whatever. And here's where it kind of flips though, is that they're handed this money-making machine, right? Mm-hmm. And instead they just want to sell it quickly because they just want the quick money.
Yeah.
Where it's like over time, like this thing literally produces checks every month.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn how to manage it just like any other business.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, but it's also a lot of family dynamics that play into that, how many siblings are inheriting it.
Yeah. And then, the other thing is I'll be dead.
Okay. So you don't really care, right? Yeah.
Whatever the hell
Dude, it's so funny. I'm reading this chapter in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, and he's talking about, he's like, what's the purpose of life? He's like, you work so hard for everything you get, you have it all, and it doesn't make you realize money doesn't make you happy. Mm-hmm. Having a palace, because he's a king, palace doesn't make you happy. And he's like, and then you die and you lose everything, and it gets handed to people who didn't deserve it in the first place, and they squander it and lose it. Yeah. And you're like, man, you're like, this is that's very deep. Pessimistic, but it's pretty true, So
it's like.
So I'm a little more optimistic than I'm like you're saying. Like I'm living day to day. Like I'm happy with my life. I love what I do when I wake up, and I love serving people too. It's super rewarding to like help someone buy their first home.
Oh yeah.
And you get to see people every morning and like hand them that cup of happiness. Like literally, like my wife won't even talk to me till she has her coffee like in the morning.
You know what my favorite thing is? Well, I've got Leo, who's been one of the backbones. Leo actually worked at Nautical Bean before me, and he's still with me.
Yeah.
He's the closest thing to a brother that I've ever had. But we've seen all of these customers over the years. I mean, like elementary school kids, and now those elementary school kids are bringing their kids into Nautical Bean, and it's like, what happened? And that, like, how many weddings that Leo and I have gone to from past employees, or they're having babies and all this stuff. And it's like, I see them on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but seeing those kids grow up and then bringing in their kids, like I'll see them come in. I go, do you want a hot chocolate or muffin? They go, Brett, I'm 30. So, sorry.
Not eating chocolate. I got diabetes. What do you want?
What do you want, man? But that's the most fun to see. It's like see these kids growing up that have been a part of these coffee shops. Because one of my things that I like in coffee shops when I scout for a location is I like being in a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I love the walkability, to be able to walk to a coffee shop. And so in that Los Osos Valley Road shop, it's not quite that walkable, but it's right by the junior high and the elementary school. And so
I would ride my bike over there all the time because I lived over near Ocean Air.
Exactly. And so we'd see all these kids growing up, and it's like, and then we watch them, and then they go into high school, and then they got their licenses, and then they make it their routine. Not just with their parents. It's like, oh, Brett's going to give me crap. It's like, that's what we do. It's like we've adopted all of these kids in SLO over the years. And to think that we've provided something that's part of their childhood, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's so cool to see, like, I'll be in line there and I'll see like a mom come in with her kid. She's holding one, holding the hand of the other, and the little one's like picking out the muffin they want.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they want because they go there all the time.
Yeah. All the time.
It's pretty cool.
And it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. That's definitely the relationships that we've built over the years, like let's take COVID, for example. Yeah. COVID hit, no one knew what was going on. We had no idea. As soon as that hit and people were getting shut down, we never closed. Mm-hmm. Like we found the ways to stay open and we made it work. And we went from having, I think, like 40 employees down to like 16 or under that. Mm-hmm. Like it was nuts. And we were getting, like I'd get phone calls or messages on Instagram from people on the East Coast. Hey, Brett, send me a $200 gift card. I go, why? I go, you don't live here. They go, yeah, but we'll come back. We just want to make sure you're okay.
Come support. Nice.
Yeah. And so people were.
I thought you were talking about the one, the spam gift card thing. They're like, hey, I want a gift card. I'm in Nairobi.
No. Like And all these people just, hey, can you send us Nutty Bean? And that's where our
That's
Goofy
awesome.
Foot, our mail order stung really, really started to pick up, where we're sending out all this coffee. And so it's like, oh man, we really have to streamline these processes to be able to
Yep.
make that better. But just the support from people that want to make sure that we're okay.
Oh, yeah.
People checking in all the time, like direct messages, like, "Are you okay? What's going on? Is shop's doing all right?" So we're figuring it out.
Yep. I
That's
remember those days. Oh, yeah. It was like, yeah, one person in at a time and made it work. Had the little plastic shield things and all the. It was crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wild times, but you got through it. Thank God.
We did, and we were one of the fortunate ones.
Yeah.
But like I said, I couldn't have done it without like my family, without Leo, without Josh, my other GM at the time over there. Like it was rough, but yeah.
No, that's so wild. So I just got back from Kona, Hawaii, and we're, checking out the coffee plantations over there and stuff. And obviously it's a big coffee scene. What do you do for coffee beans? How did you come across and choose the beans that you chose? And obviously you can talk about the kind of your most popular one, which I think everybody knows, but
oh yeah, Nutty Bean.
Yeah. Nutty Bean is
the funny thing
is it a hazelnut? What is it?
It's chestnut.
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 Oh my God, I don't even think I've ever seen a chestnut, but
who knows? But the funny thing was I bought Nautical Bean, right?
Yep.
I walked into it, and the coffees that we serve now are pretty much the same coffees we sold 20-something years. Nutty Bean has always been the same, and I have an exclusive on Nutty Bean, and I have it trademarked. So
awesome.
We did all the due diligence on that, but we do over 1,000 pounds of Nutty Bean a month. But then we have the Nutty Bean Turbo, which is higher caffeinated, and then the decaf. But then like the Peruvian organic that we use, it was a light roast in the late 90s, early 2000s. Now it's probably a medium to a dark with how light coffees are nowadays. But then my French roast, we get it from this small roaster, and all they really do is French roast coffee. And people love it. It's actually one of my favorites because it's that dark diner coffee. To where people used to always think, oh, this coffee is so dark, it's got to be so caffeinated. Well, the darker the coffee, the less caffeine, because as you roast coffee darker, you roast out the caffeine. So lighter roast coffees have more caffeine.
That's where I started having the blonde, and apparently it has more.
Oh yeah, more caffeine. But it's that flavor punch that hits your senses. Almost like a smelling
when you're
salt.
Smelling it, yeah.
Yeah, and so I love it. But yeah, we've used almost the same coffees since the beginning.
That's awesome. That's one great thing about buying a business, right? Is you're buying existing inventory and existing assets.
Yeah,
that's a big asset.
I use a couple of roasters. Like my primary roaster is Daymar Roasting, and they're in San Diego, and they're third generation. Their families are from Mexico, and they're awesome. Like I've been communicating with them for 20 plus years now. And
thank God all these companies are still in business too,
I
right?
know.
Because
and
like imagine if you lost,
It's like, what am I going to do? Yeah. It's like Nutty Bean pays for everything.
Yeah.
But then my espresso, I had to do a switch because when you buy coffee from a certain roaster or something like that, they provide you with your brewing equipment. They'll work on your equipment for you, but they're in San Diego. So if my espresso machine went down, they couldn't fix it. So I developed a great relationship with a gentleman named Tom Richardson, and he owns Central Coast Refreshments here in town, and we've become really good friends. We've gone to coffee conventions and everything together. We bounce ideas off each other, but he can work on equipment. And so I started buying my espresso and other products from Tom. So because I don't want this guy just working on my stuff, I wanted to kick down to him. So I gave him all of those sales for that. Nice. And he uses Slake Roasting, which is a local company. So all of my espresso is local now. So
awesome. Well, I got espresso in here.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
So I never knew that. So is that typical though? Is like, let's say you buy a espresso machine. What brand are these things these days?
I use Unique espresso machines. They're from France.
Okay.
And Tom is certified to work on those.
Okay.
So if something goes down,
so it's like a courtesy. It's like, hey, this is the man to use this, and also I'm going to give him a service of buying product from him as well.
So all my coffee brewers, since I'm buying coffee from a roaster, they provide me with the brewing equipment for free.
Oh, nice.
You know, and that's when it's like, that's why I like consulting with people when they want to open a coffee shop and they're like, oh, I got to buy. I go, no.
Yeah,
I would
never have even thought that.
Yeah.
Because those, I mean, an espresso machine's expensive.
Well, you have to buy the espresso machine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
You got it. They don't give you that.
20 grand. Or
Exactly.
Something.
It's like you could rent one, you know, but to find someone, because if that goes down, you need someone that's going to work on it, you know, because that's how you're making money.
Yeah.
You know, and so to be able to have that.
Have you had that happen?
Oh, absolutely.
So like, how do you pivot to not being able to make espresso? Do you have like a little temporary one, or is it like
we're fortunate enough to where, no, we call them and they come fix it.
Okay.
But we're fortunate enough to where we're what's called a second wave coffee shop. I don't know if you ever heard the phrase.
I have not.
Okay. First wave of coffee was like your Folgers, your Sanka, you know, what they made at your house or anything like that. Second wave coffee started with Starbucks. So that's when they started doing like these blended drinks and these sweet drinks and having some food aspects to it. And that's what we are. And then third wave is when you have someone that's elevated coffee so high, like Scout, like with the latte art, and they roast their own, and they're just doing that.
So it's in-house roasting
that
and stuff
perfect
like that.
cup of coffee kind of thing, like a Sendo and everything like that. They do great. We have wonderful examples of third wave coffee here in San Luis Obispo. I'm second wave coffee. we serve a 24 ounce
Which nothing
drip
to
coffee.
take away because it's like, it's.
But I know my role.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm good at. And I think these third wave.
Yeah, you're not trying to do little latte leaves and hearts.
No, because we put a lid on it. We're production. Okay, here you go.
Yep.
But I think the third wave guys like having me around because it's like, okay, I still do the blended drinks and I serve the multiple size. My number one coffee is a flavored coffee. Who sells flavored coffee nowadays?
No, it's crazy.
But to get back, if my espresso machine goes down, we still do so much. Like we do all of our food. So it's like I have a commercial kitchen where I'm running 2 prep cooks 6 days a week that do all of our prep food. Like all the bacon is roasted there, all the granola is made, all the lox are portioned, all the chicken is made. We make all of our salsas and salad dressings in house, you know, and so it's a big operation.
That's awesome. I never knew all that.
Yeah. So we have a little. It's not little. It's a good sized commercial kitchen where I can run 2 prep cooks at a time.
That's in Slow?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so we built that out a few years ago, but that was going to be the only way I could expand is if I had that, because we were doing all those operations in-house in the cafes, and it just didn't work. It was a cluster. So
What's your most popular food item?
breakfast burrito.
Okay, that's what I was going to
Hands
say.
down.
The smaller one, not the kitchen sink one.
No, the breakfast burrito. It's a
That's
good,
my favorite.
Look
That
at
little tapatio and the salsa, dude.
Well, look what goes into that. Like all that salsa is made fresh in house. All those veggies, the bell pepper onion mix, like that's all we do. All we go in through multiple, like I think like 20 cases of bell peppers a week or something that we're doing.
Wow.
And then like the salsa is all made in house. You know, the bacon, we get the thickest, most expensive bacon you can buy, and we're cooking it down, and that's all portioned out. So all the tortillas are delivered twice a week fresh.
It's a good portion. It's like a good, like it's the perfect size because it's not like gonna.
You don't
like
have to take a nap after.
Yeah,
it.
you're not gonna be in a food coma, but also it's a good price too. So
Yeah.
it's like, hey, give me a coffee and that, and I'm good to go for till lunch.
And we can knock those out pretty quick, you know. So, like, I want to have a good value, and it's got to be fast. You know, it's like people don't want to wait around forever for their stuff. It's like you get these people that are on a commute. It's like, and I have to, and I might seem like a jerk sometimes to some of my employees or to my GMs. I go, look, we got to go a little faster.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
We're
gotta
trying
get
to
it
time this on my way to work, and if I'm
Exactly.
late, then it's on you. Yeah.
No, exactly. But one of the things that 2 of the locations we use Grubhub for pickup, and it hasn't really caught on to the Bunker one yet, but it will. But the Los Osos Valle Road location, like we don't do delivery for it, but we do pickup. And so it's like that Grubhub thing is going off all day.
All the time.
And so we just do, and we ride it. And so they skip the line. It's all paid for. It's all laid out. They pick it up, in and out. You know,
Nice.
I would love to be able to eventually do one of those kiosks like what you see, you know, for quick orders.
I know that McDonald's got into that over
Well,
here.
they got out of it.
I never go there, but I went there one time and I was like, I'm just craving like a McFlurry. And I was like, there's not even like people at the front anymore. I got to like just type it in.
As soon as they went to $20 an hour minimum wage, they're
insane.
not doing any counter. But, you know, it's like they got to do what they got to do too, you
Yeah.
know, but
Someone was saying that there's like it's like a $20 or something like Big Mac now, or I don't know.
Oh, I don't
but
know about that.
Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, I'm all about speed, and that's where the second wave mentality comes into. It's like, okay, we're a production coffee shop.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm not charging as much, so I've got to sell a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, how are we going to be able to do that? How are ways that we could streamline things and make them faster? You know, we're going to go through a big menu tweak coming up, to where I'm going to actually be cutting a lot of things out of the menu and adding a few little items that are that I can do for a better price point faster. You know, to get that on the road. So
That's awesome. What are your thoughts on expanding to other cities or states? Do you think it's a business that could be, you know?
Well, I would like to keep mine locally. I really have had my eye on Atascadero. You know, I think Atascadero is growing. I love going, like my wife and I will go to Atascadero. You know, they've got some great vintage shops. They've got a great skate shop
I love
there.
Atascadero. Yep.
You know, the restaurant scene is really
My
coming
buddy
up.
owns the building the skate shop's in. So
Oh, the one that
if you
805
need
is
a
in?
spot, yep.
Yeah, and it's like with like traffic records right there is so awesome, and I think it's really coming into its own. And the housing market there they're building a lot of stuff. I was just approached on the Dove Creek project that's going in, where they're putting in this whole retail center, where they wanted me to go into that. So looking into that, but that downtown, that traffic way, everything, I love it.
Yep.
Like I think, and that's where you can still get a good value per square foot on something in Atascadero, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that. I also love Pismo. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's got such a place in my heart, you know,
It's
because
a tough one. I helped my buddy start a Italian business there, and or pizzeria, Italian food, and it was brutal during the off season.
absolutely.
Because you count on those locals, and this was like in 2008, 2009, where people just stopped eating out
Yes.
because they had no money, and it was like, dude, like really, no one's eating dinner tonight, or what? Why are we just like? It was crazy.
I think what we do in our vibe, I got to look and see where that would fit right. Like, I don't want to go somewhere where I'm not going to mesh well with something. But I think like Pismo, with like our whole skateboard mentality kind of thing and all that kind of stuff, I think they would eat it up.
Fit well. I think Grand is kind of blown out with like options right now too.
Is it? I'm gonna have to go look.
Like,
but then
Five Cities has a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
You're talking about Atascadero. I like Brew just because it's a cute little spot, but I think the owner's wife like makes all the like baked goods.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I have a weakness for baked goods, although right now I'm not allowed to have them, but yeah, so but I just love Paso's a good spot too. Like the downtown's blowing up there.
Paso's gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, I love Paso, but then it's like, okay, if something goes wrong, I'm driving 45 minutes to go fix it.
It's true, but once I like what I've done is like my properties are in Paso, Atascadero, Grover, you know. So basically we're all over the county, but when you're driving to one, then you just go to the next one.
Yeah.
Kind of make your stops, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of driving.
Yeah,
I'm on the road a lot.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do the deliveries for all the shops with the prepped food stuff, like the cooked food.
Yep.
For them, and I love it because what it allows me to do is I still get to be in the shops. I get to see them. Someone tells me, "Hey, Brett, this sink's broken. Okay, I gotta get that fixed," or something like that. You know. But then I get to sit down. My favorite thing is like when I'm doing deliveries, or whatever, and I see customers, and they say, "Hey, Brett," and I can sit down with them and have coffee with them and enjoy that, and be able to talk with them, be a part of that. So
let's see, how long have we been going here? I guess let's kind of finish up, but like what advice would you give to a aspiring entrepreneur, someone who's young or old or whatever, just kind of has a vision, has this dream that they've always wanted to get started, and whether it's coffee or food industry related or anything, literally like they just want to start their own business, work for themselves. I guess what kind of advice would you give them before they get started? Or to get started, because I feel like that's another weakness. Is like we all have these great ideas, but we never take action and do them. So
I would think some of the most important things are, if let's just take restaurant or coffee, because that's what I do, is what's your support network look like? You know, who are you going to be able to talk to when something's not going right? You know, do you have a banker friend? Do you have a lawyer friend? Do you have a electrician friend, a plumber? Get this catalog of people that you can get the advice from on things. You know, you're going to pay them, but you need to be able to have a rapport with people that you trust and that you enjoy. But also, I talk about this now as I've gotten older in business. When I consult, it's like, have an exit strategy planned with your opening strategy. You know, what is this going to look like? Are you going to want to do this the rest of your life? What does your 20 years look like? Are you going to want to be a barista for that long? Are you going to want to make pizzas for that long? You know, what's that going to look like? And then also make sure that you have enough money. You know, it's when I talk to people, I go, look, when you start off, you're not going to make any money. Like it's not going to be like that. I go, but you're going to be so happy doing what you're doing because that's your passion. Like, you're cleaning a bathroom, you're cleaning your bathroom. You know, it's like you're doing all this stuff. And you're going to be the person that has to show up when someone else calls out sick or is hungover the next day. Most of the time they're hungover the next day. But you're going to be that person. And you're not going to make any money, but your happiness is going to come out. And then eventually people want to be around that. You got to provide a good product at a reasonable price, but it's got to be a fun environment, you know, and build off your passion, be true to yourself, and have enough money because it's going to cost you about 3 times more than you anticipated to be able to build it out.
Oh my God, that's great advice. I like all that rang true to everything that I do. Literally, like, don't go buy a flip if you don't have enough money.
No.
Have an exit strategy. Are you going to sell it? If you don't sell it, are you going to rent it?
Yeah.
Or are you going to, you know?
And learn the art of negotiation on when there's a lease, when you're looking at a location and there's a lease for it. You know, it's like, is there wiggle room in that? You know, it's like, can you do a lower square footage price, but then have a percentage kick in at a certain price? There's so many little ways that can tweak it that'll save you so much in the long run. But a lot of times people just have these rose-colored glasses, and they just, it's like, I call it like the meatloaf analogy. I make this great meatloaf, and everyone thinks I should sell it, so I'm going to open up this meatloaf shop. Yep. You know, it's like you have these rose-colored glasses on. It's like, and you'll sign on the bottom line. Yeah. And you're not running those numbers. It's like, get some sounding board. Talk to people that have been in the industry and like what this looks like. I've consulted for a lot of people on that would have wanted to open up coffee shops. And I think maybe 2 have gone forward with it. And that's not saying anything negative, but just giving that real life thing. It's like, what does this look like? You know how much this is going to cost? You know how much this is going to cost? And it's like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I'd have to pay that much for that. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like that. You know, is your lease, when you sign your lease, is it going to kick in right there? Or are they going to give you 60 days to build out stuff? Or how long, or maybe your lease starts after your opening date. You know, it's like, there's little tweaks to save you so much in the long run. So talk to someone that's done it before. You know, I'm sure you have plenty of mentors that have helped you in real estate and shown you the right way.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would call it like what you just said is like building your team out before you get started, right? Because you're going to need that support network. My plumber was calling me before we started this, right? Yeah. So it's like, you got to have people to lean on who do what they love to do. Yeah. And they're going to help empower you to do what you love to do. Yeah. And
because at the end of the day, you're the one who takes it home every night.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's
you're the one who stays up all night, you know, thinking about it, or gets stressed out and goes to the hospital because they think they're having a heart attack, but it comes out to just be stress.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah. You can't call in sick when you're the owner.
No,
right?
You can't.
That's what people are like, oh, I'm going to start a business so I can just have like free time. It's like, dude, this is the funniest. Yeah. You know?
So, you know, but just talk to people and realize if this is really what you want to do. And you know what? Go do it. Like
take a chance.
Take the chance, but you know, have a safety net. You know, figure it out. Don't put your family in the poorhouse if it doesn't work out. You know, but you also have to be willing. If this doesn't work out, I'm going to go get that job. You know, and I'm going to go do what I need to do to take care of my family. So
I think regret costs a lot more than, you know, like if you get down to the end of your life and you didn't get to do what you wanted to do, or
Sure.
at least took a shot at it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at now. It's like, what do I want to travel. I want to see so much of this world, and I want to experience these things and try that and see these things. Like one of my favorite people growing up and watching was Anthony Bourdain, you know, and
I love him.
and seeing that opening up, and because he spoke for us restaurant people, like the back of the house, the dishwashers, all those kind of things. It's like, and we got to see this world through his eyes and this hospitality world. And I want to see some of that.
Have you read his books?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Kitchen Confidential is one of my favorite
My wife
books.
bought me Kitchen Confidential.
My God. And I listened to the audiobook and it's in his voice, and it is the most entertaining thing. And I feel like I'm back in the kitchen because I used to be in the food industry. So I'm like, man, I remember these days. Like,
yeah. And
so
it's like,
great.
And like when he died, like I had a really hard time because, like I said, like he spoke for us restaurant people. Yeah. You know, it's like the real underbelly of the industry.
Uncut.
Exactly.
Unedited,
and but it just shows like he probably had what we thought was the best job in the world, and he chose to walk away from that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sad. You never know what's going down below. So take care of your mental health, everyone.
No, definitely. You know, if you're not healthy, you know, it's not going to be any easier. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming in today and just sharing all of your knowledge and your wisdom and just kind of telling us about the business, because it's super interesting. I learned a bunch. Didn't know there was second tier. Is it second tier? Is that what you're calling it?
No, for wave.
Second wave. Yeah. Tier doesn't sound. The second wave.
No,
why is there a surfing analogy there?
I don't know, because the washes. I don't know, but that's just what it was called.
Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you stayed this long, go check out Nautical Bean. There's a few locations in San Luis Obispo and also in Baywood near Los Osos. So till next time, we'll see you then.